Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, everyone. How are you? Yes? Good? Bad? Okay. طيب. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and I ask that He blesses our Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. And I seek his guidance. I'm going to make this very, very quick and short. How about that? Well, actually, we may not have time for this particular joke that I was going to just share with you. I was going to just go over some of these qualities. Like if you were to go and Google what to look for in a spouse or what to look for in a in marriage, right? What to look for, then you're going to find some websites or some sources that will tell you 6 qualities, some that will tell you 10, some that will tell you 21. So I was just going to read some of them to you. Oh, there's one also with 25, and they just tell you. And what I want to tell you is that if you ever find someone that possesses all these qualities, please let me know. So I can, some of them are not really realistic, nor are they practical. Some they may just list every good quality that is out there, and they tell you you should expect it and look for it in a potential spouse. Of course, the prophetic guidance simplifies it, right? So there are two particular narrations that I just want to share with you, and then go over 10 points with you. One narration where the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, says that a woman is sought for 4 qualities, right? Beauty, wealth. Brothers, like this is one of their most favorite hadith. Like they have it memorized. They even know the order, right? Beauty, wealth, status, or family lineage, or right? And what else? Beauty, deen. Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, there we go. Somebody's paying attention. Deen, religion, right? Faith, religiosity. Right, these are the 4 things. And the Prophet puts emphasis at the end, and he says, "فَظْفَرْ بِذَاتِ الدِّينِ تَرِبَتْ يَدَاكَ." Right? Focus on or get the one, right? Win the one that has religion, right? For that is the most critical of all qualities. That doesn't mean that you should just totally ignore the other 3 qualities, but the Prophet ﷺ, peace and blessings be upon him, he puts emphasis on the deen, the religion, because that is what really that is going to make a difference. Everything else comes and goes, right? So this is one hadith. The other hadith that is also very, very famous is that where the Prophet says that to the woman or the family of a woman, that if a man approaches you, if a man whose character and religion you find to be pleasing, then marry him, right? In another narration it says, whose integrity and religion, right? And what we find here is that there's common theme here between the two, which is what? Religion, right? Because in both cases the Prophet mentions religion, right? And one thing I must say is that religion and the religiosity level should be compatible, right? It should be compatible. It doesn't have to be at the same level, but it should be compatible. There has to be somewhat of common connection based on a spirituality. A spiritual connection is one of the most neglected aspects of relationships, and in many cases it may become the element that makes a big difference at the end of the day. But does that mean, and this is where we need to, does that mean that if you're pleased with someone's religiosity, or if you have similar spiritual, let's say, path, that is enough? Obviously not. Right? So here are 10 things that we need to look for or prepare. And I know Sheikh Mustafa went over how to prepare yourself. The first step is that I recommend is for people to get to know themselves, right? Get to know yourself, especially if you have had past experience and past relationships, right? And I'm assuming that these past relationships didn't really work, right? And in most of these relationships, usually we tend to blame the other side, or we say, oh, we're the victims, or they did it, it's not us, right? But one thing that you will find is if you examine every single one of these relationships, is that you're the common denominator of these relationships. You're the one that has been there in every relationship, right? So we need to be honest with ourselves, get to know ourselves, and once you know yourself, you know what you need and what to look for, right? Number two, right? When you meet any person that has potential, remember one of the potentials, or one of the most important potentials, is what? The individual's religiosity or understanding of the religion. Listen carefully to what that person is saying and to what that person is not saying as well. Right? When you first meet them, listen carefully, because we often like to come and present ourselves, and we want to, get to know me, this is who I am. You need to listen as much as you can, right? And pay attention to what that person is saying and analyze what they're saying, right? Number three, do not be distracted with chemistry. Don't put too much emphasis on chemistry. Chemistry is important, compatibility, connection is very important, but it's not everything. It's not everything. Number four, ask yourself, by the way, one thing that I skipped to mention is, ask yourself if this individual is capable of loving you, has the capacity of loving you the way you like to be loved, right? Does this person have the capacity to love you the way you appreciate to be loved? And this is one of the biggest problems that many people have. And in many relationships, people get in relationships, or they end up with individuals, or they like individuals, or they want to be with individuals that may not have the capacity or the capability. And subhanAllah, one of these beautiful words of wisdom that I learned from a good friend of mine is that he used to say, when you demand something from people that they cannot deliver, it's not their fault, it's your fault. You're really being unjust. You're not being fair. If I'm demanding something from someone that is beyond his or her capacity, then I'm wronging them. Right? I'm wronging them. Even Allah Azza wa Jal, even God the Almighty does not ask us to do things or to deliver something that is beyond our capacity. Right? So how is it as human beings that we demand from people something that is beyond their capacity? So look at the individual's capacity. Right? Does that person have what it takes, right? And I'm not saying do they have what it takes to please you and make you happy and you're their boss and everything. And I'm saying, does the person have the capacity to do what the things that you appreciate, right? And examine that. These are just some of the things that you should pay attention to. And as I told Brother Zuhair, I would like to open the floor for a discussion, a two-way discussion, and get to know what you have to say. But I just want to conclude with one thing. This is just from my personal experience, almost every gap, right, can be bridged. The one gap that I find to be extremely difficult or near impossible to be bridged is a personality gap. Personality gap. And many people, unfortunately, they may not, realize how critical that is, right? Being with somebody that is compatible with you in terms of personality can make a big difference, and it affects how solid and how long the relationship may last, right? Last but not least, I urge you to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, for somebody that will bring you closer to Him. And remember that instead of pursuing individuals, right, or instead of pursuing elements in a relationship, pursue God. Make that your ultimate goal. And when you pursue God, then He puts you on the path of somebody else that is pursuing Him as well, right? If that is your goal at the end. So please feel free to challenge any point that I mentioned or any point that I may mention. But again, make sure that you do your due diligence. I wish I was able to come here and be here when Sheikh Mustafa was here. I'm not sure if he mentioned that marriage or the decision of who you marry or who you be with, all right, is perhaps one of, if not one of the most critical decisions that you make in your life. It can make it or break it. Did he mention that? No? Okay. So it's really, really critical. It can be either you can find paradise, or it becomes hell. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve us and protect us from hell, inshallah. Yes. If you have any questions, please. We're going to start from the right side and go that way. Okay. And please do not shy or refrain from asking any question. If you want to text, can they text?
They can tweet, Facebook, and YouTube.
Oh, you cannot text. You can just tweet. Okay. I think we should give people the ability to text, inshallah. But if you want to text, please feel free. Or if you want to tweet it, please feel free, inshallah. Okay. Yes.
Clear, you had a question?
Yes.
The question is, what if you were a new Muslim, but you're going through a phase where you have no conscious sincerity or devotion to Allah, but you're thinking about getting married, you're approaching that age, and you're not sure if you're getting married for Allah or just for life partner in general. You have a hard time making it for Allah. What's your advice?
Yeah, remember, I mean, of course, you want to do whatever you do for the sake of Allah, and you should, seek God's pleasure. But the last statement that I made, if that is concerning the last statement that I made, right? I didn't say, what I said was pursue God in life in general. Because what we do sometimes, we pursue ourselves or we pursue other people. So I'm saying we need to stop doing that, and we need to pursue, God, right? So pursue God in life. Make God your ultimate, pursuit, right? That doesn't mean that you should not look for things that you enjoy or things that you appreciate or things that you need. Remember, because one of the points that I made was that make sure that you look for somebody, and you can only achieve that if you know yourself very well. If you don't know yourself, then you won't be able to achieve that. Know yourself very well so that you can get somebody that will fulfill, or help you fulfill what you need, right? Somebody that, so again, because sometimes people say, I'm going to marry this person for Allah, meaning I'm going to do them a favor. And then what? Right? Do yourself a favor, right? Do yourself a favor. When one of the female companions came to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, she came to Fatima bint Qais, and she said to him that so and so and so and so proposed to me, two companions. The Prophet ﷺ was very honest with her. He told her, so and so is a loser. He doesn't have anything to offer you. As for Abu Jahm, by the way, is he mentioned he used a metaphor, and the scholars didn't exactly agree as to what that metaphor meant. He said, as for Abu Jahm, he always has his stick on his shoulder or on his back. Some people said that that means he's very abusive. Other people said that he wasn't a family man. He was a traveler. He would always travel, right? So he's not going to give you the quality, time that you're looking for, right? So the Prophet ﷺ did not recommend. He discouraged her from either one of them, and then he gave her an alternative, and he recommended someone else. He said, marry him. That guy is what you need. He didn't say, oh no, Muawiyah is a good guy. Just marry him. It's okay for the sake of God. No, he didn't. Yeah, for pity or for whatever, because he didn't say, oh, by the way, remember that he said, لا مال له, he's a loser, he doesn't have something to offer you. He didn't say, well, yes, he's a loser, but maybe you will change him. And by the way, that guy whom the person said that about became what? Became a king, became the head of the state. Later he ended up becoming, the caliph. Right? So, but that's not what she needed or what she was looking for, right? Yes. Yes. Okay, the brother is asking, when it says that marriage is half of the deen or half of the religion, what does that mean? Right? I don't know. Sorry. I'm trying to figure it out myself. I mean, there are different interpretations given by the scholars. By the way, half of the deen doesn't mean that if you don't have it, then you only have 50% of your religion. That's not what it means. Right? So meaning a single person is like 50% Muslim, because some people literally take it like that. They look at a single person as a 50% Muslim. No, that's not true. See?
The way I see it is, when you start your religion after you get married, when you say half, you start your religion, and then the other half is.
I'll give you one interpretation that makes a lot of sense to me. The religion is what? Right? Is do's and don'ts, right? Obligations, duties that you have to fulfill, and then prohibitions that you have to stay away from. So when you get married, right, your tendency to commit the prohibited acts should decrease. Meaning marriage is like a protection for you from falling into the don'ts. Does that make sense? Committing any of these violations. So it's supposed to protect you, right? So meaning that is taken care of now, because in the hadith the Prophet said, so take care of the other half. Meaning now fulfill your duties. Now that you have, the potential to commit sins, right? Now that you have temptations, right, pretty much, decreasing or destroyed because now you got married and you have this protections, make sure that you focus on your duties. And so marriage is supposed to empower you. That's what it means. It's like it gives you that energy, or a boost in that energy that you need. And that's why, by the way, for some people who think that, okay, marriage is going to give them, automatically supply them with half of their deen, that's not going to happen if they don't have a spiritual direction. If they don't have a clear spiritual direction to begin with, and they don't have the drive to do it, the fuel that they just got, which is marriage, is not going to get them anywhere, because they're not, they're stagnant, or they're not moving in any direction. So that works given that the person has a clear spiritual path, spiritual direction, and has a desire and the motive. So marriage is supposed to help propel that person in that direction. So that's just how I understand it. Yes.
Question on, so you talk about like evaluating spirituality between you and your potential spouse. How do you do that without like judging someone, if you will? Or to not judge someone?
How do you evaluate the compatibility level, spiritually speaking? Okay. Well, I mean, there are different ways of achieving that, but are you, you need to look and be honest with yourself. Are you both on the same? You don't have to have the same level of, let's say, focus or energy, right? But are you on the same? And I'm just trying to be very careful here. Do you have the same interest? All right. Do you enjoy the same material, right? Do you? Because I mean, again, there are different schools of thoughts and stuff like that. By the way, that could actually sometimes also be very, very, very important, right? In terms of like, because if you have people who are gung-ho about their school of thought, two people, they may be at the same level of spiritual commitment, but they're two different schools of thoughts and they're very fanatic about their affiliation with that school of thought, they're going to have, debates day and night, It's going to. So in some cases, right, especially people who may be at an advanced level, it's important to be with somebody who's upon the same or of the same school of thought or has the same understanding of the religion, and even if that person may not be at the same level or has the same level of knowledge, right, but somebody who's at the same level. Also, another indication would be what that person listens to, or the type of speakers that person enjoys. I'm just giving you like a practical lesson. There are some people who find particular, let's say, speakers or particular like trend very appealing, and they enjoy it, and they're connected, and they're emotionally connected, and then they find another one very annoying, and they just can't stand that. So if they end up with somebody that is the opposite, you're going to have clashes. Oh, there's a conference here, but there's another conference at the same time. I want to go to this one. No, I want to go to that one. Okay. So you're on your own, So that's another thing, a key factor in my opinion. So and instead of challenging each other, it would make a big difference if you're on the same wavelength, on the same spiritual wavelength, or the same or of the same school of thought or approach. Yeah. Yes. You're not judging them. You're not saying that they're better than me, they're less than me. I'm saying that you're assessing that person's spiritual path and see if it's compatible with yours. Right? So let's say you like somebody, you're somebody that loves to go to Mecca and Medina for spiritual nourishment. Right? But then you're somebody that doesn't like to go there. And instead they like to go to whatever, Bermuda for spiritual, right? It's going to be very tough to be with that person. Does that make sense? Or no? So do you see any issue with this? One person likes to go to Mecca and Medina for their spiritual uplifting, and then the other person likes to, okay, maybe Mecca and Medina may not be fair to compare. Let's say one person wants to go to the Maldives for spiritual uplifting and all of that. The other person likes to go to Bermuda. And the person that likes to go to Bermuda hates to go to, would never consider going to the Maldives. Never. And vice versa. Do you see where the clash might take place, right? Yeah. No, I'm just giving you an analogy. I'm giving you an analogy of two different directions, right? Yeah. So if people are on two different directions, it could actually be very challenging. And I'm talking from from just experience, all right? Experience of like counseling or, trying to help couples that had all kinds of issues because they were on two different opposing spiritual paths. And by the way, yeah. No, again, that was Muhammad. That was just a metaphor. I didn't mean it literally. Yeah. Okay. Now let me, because Zuhair asked me a very specific question. I didn't say that if somebody doesn't share the same interests, spiritual interests, that you should dismiss them. All I said, he said, how do you define or give us like a tip as to how two people can be spiritually or in terms of, religiosity compatible? So I'll give you a more specific example. Let's say somebody's connection to the religion, they love Quranic studies. They love to study the Quran, read the Quran, and they enjoy it, and that's what they specialize in. And they're seeking somebody that will help them in that regard, or somebody that will enjoy that with them. That's what they're seeking, right? But instead, they choose somebody that doesn't like it, somebody that enjoys reading history or politics, someone who's into politics, right? And this is someone who wants to have good connection or intellectual or spiritual connection with their spouse. That's like very important to them, right? So we'll say, that's going to be a challenge. That's going to be a challenge. That doesn't mean that these two people cannot be together. They can be together, but they just have to understand that they can be together in different ways, not necessarily, so that religious or intellectual connection may not be there the way they want it. So if that's very, very important to them, and they want someone that shares the same interests, someone that likes to go to the same, like for instance, I'll tell you an example. There was one time a couple that ended up basically separating because one of them enjoyed going to conferences, Islamic conferences, and attending them. The other one hated it, didn't want to go. What are you going to do? This individual is not obligated to go to Islamic conferences. They don't have to. It's not a religious requirement. They're not less religious or anything. They just don't enjoy it. They're just not like extrovert. Like they're not into the social scene and all that. Their spiritual path is different. They like to be to themselves and stuff like that. The two were not on the same wavelength. One was really connected to it and had great passion for it. The other one hated it or didn't really enjoy it. So they wanted to be to themselves. So they were always, separating. And eventually that led to them, to the marriage falling apart. Does that make sense now? Yeah.
I'm just thinking in terms of they could both be very religious, and like some will go more for conferences, some maybe go on Quran classes or classes, and possibly do other avenues, for that same thing. It seems like you're making an aspect out of a conference or certain avenues that they may have differ to.
No, I'm not making an issue. I'm saying if a person is, what I'm saying is if a person is really connected to it and they're attached to it and that's something that they enjoy and they want somebody to enjoy that with them, or they want somebody that will share that with them, then they need to take that into consideration and be honest with themselves. It could be somebody that enjoys going to conferences, but they're okay being on their own and their spouse going somewhere else. If that's okay with them and they have the personality to sustain that, then that's fine. There are a lot of people who are like that. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Is it true that there's two different types of Islamic marriage, like one that is temporary based on a contract and another one that is like for life?
Really? Is that what I mean?
I believe so.
Oh. So is it true that there are two types of marriages in Islam? I'm just repeating the question. One that is temporary and one that is...
It's still like on a contract for a certain period of time.
Okay, and the other one...
The one that is permanent.
You want the short answer or the long answer? Yeah. There's only one type of marriage. Islamically, marriage is one, and you marry the person. Yeah. But marriage is supposed to be and intended to be permanent, but all marriages are temporary. Right? Oh, this is being recorded? Okay, so I shouldn't be messing it. I apologize, you know. Okay, what I'm trying to say is that, no, if you're asking about temporary marriage, meaning that the terms of the marriage, it will be listed there as you know, a marriage that will only last a specific period of time. In the mainstream Sunni Islam, that marriage is invalid, and it's not allowed, right? That type of marriage is only accepted, as far as I know, within a particular sect, you know, of the Muslim world, and that marriage is not valid. It's not considered to be marriage. It's an invalid marriage. It's not a marriage. For somebody to marry someone temporarily and agree to the term, saying that, okay, we're married only for 2 weeks, that's not marriage. Yeah. Yeah.
Muslim brother actually told me the opposite. Muslim brother, you know him? He told me that in Muslim countries like Saudi Arabia, that's actually what young people do in case they have like physical desires, that they have a temporary.
Yeah, that's invalid marriage.
You sure?
Yes, I'm very positive. Yeah, that's. And if anyone wants to engage in these kind of marriages, you just ask them, would you accept that type of marriage for your own daughter? And if anyone tells, yeah, no, you need to be careful with, yeah, you need to be careful with that. There's only one type of marriage. Marriage is meant to be like a lifetime commitment, but what I meant by temporary is like if things don't work out, you know, so marriage is not like in Catholicism, marriage is like permanent. You're stuck in it, it's a life sentence. No, in Islam, it's a lifetime commitment, but if it doesn't work out, then there's a way out. Does that make sense? Yeah. But you do not get into it with the intent of ending it. If you know, yeah. Yes.